The Forbidden Choice. The alien court was silent, a silence so heavy that even Jack's breathing sounded loud. He stood in the middle of the great hall, a human surrounded by creatures from dozens of worlds. Their glowing eyes were fixed on him, their faces unreadable, and yet Jack felt the weight of judgment pressing down on his chest. Jack had come here with one purpose. He wanted to marry Lyra, the one sister who had captured his heart from the very first moment. Her kindness, her laughter, and her fierce loyalty had made him believe that maybe love could cross even the vastness of stars. He thought it would be simple. He thought he would ask, and they would accept. But then the words fell like thunder, spoken by the High Judge, a towering alien with skin that shimmered like metal. "Human, you cannot choose just one. By galactic law, you must marry all sisters." The words echoed through the chamber. Jack's heart dropped. He looked at the three sisters standing together at the far end of the hall. Their faces were hidden beneath veils of silver light, but he already knew them well. Lyra, the gentle one, had tears forming in her eyes. Her elder sister, Kael, looked cold and strong, her arms crossed as if daring him to resist. And the youngest, Naira, smiled faintly, a dangerous smile that made Jack's blood run cold. Jack swallowed hard. He had prepared himself for many things, but not this. To marry one was his dream. To marry them all was madness. He opened his mouth to speak, but the judge lifted his hand. "This is not a request, it is law." The chamber murmured with alien voices, some filled with curiosity, others with mocking laughter. To them, this was entertainment, a rare human trapped by a rule older than entire civilizations. To Jack, it felt like chains were closing around him. His eyes met Lyra's. She shook her head slightly, silently begging him not to protest. But Jack's human spirit rose inside him. He could not stay quiet. "I came here for her," Jack said, his voice breaking through the silence. "I came here for love, not for law." The judge's eyes narrowed. "Human, love is weak, law is eternal. You will obey, or you will face exile." Exile. The word struck Jack like a blade. If he refused, not only would he lose Lyra, but humanity itself might suffer. Humans were already seen as outsiders, fragile and untrustworthy. This refusal could be the excuse the council needed to cast his entire species out of galactic society. The sisters stepped forward then. Lyra's voice trembled as she whispered, "Jack, please. You do not understand what is at stake." Kael spoke next, her voice firm. "The law binds us all, even you. If you fight it, you fight the galaxy." Naira tilted her head, her eyes glimmering with amusement. "Or maybe, human, you are exactly what we need. Someone who dares to fight." Jack's thoughts spun in chaos. His heart told him to run, to take Lyra's hand and escape, but his mind whispered of consequences. The hall was closing in on him, guards shifting, judges watching, voices whispering. The air was thick with power, with history, with a rule that seemed unbreakable. He remembered Earth, the stories of freedom, of humans who stood against impossible odds. He had not come this far to bow. And yet, what choice did he truly have? His love was being turned into a weapon, his choice stolen, his future chained. The judge spoke again. "You will decide now, human. Will you honor the law, or will you dishonor your people?" The sisters waited, each with her own truth hidden behind her eyes. Lyra with fear and love, Kael with cold duty, Naira with a secret fire. Jack's hands trembled, his voice was trapped in his throat. Every eye in the galaxy seemed fixed on him in that moment. He was not just Jack anymore, not just a man in Lan Ove. He was the human who would either bend to alien law or ignite something far greater. The silence stretched. The chamber seemed to stop breathing. Jack's chest rose and fell as he struggled to speak. And then, slowly, his lips parted. But before a single word could leave him, Naira stepped forward. Her smile widened as she whispered loud enough for all to hear, "Human, you have no idea what you have walked into." The crowd gasped. The sisters exchanged glances. The judge's face darkened, and Jack, standing at the center of it all, realized with a chill that his nightmare had only just begun. The sisters' secret. The next day, the court released Jack into the palace, a place of glass towers and glowing halls. Each step he took echoed with the weight of unseen eyes. Guards watched him closely, but it was not their gaze that burned into him. It was the three sisters. They moved like shadows through the corridors, sometimes together, sometimes apart. Each one carried an aura that unsettled him. Lyra tried to walk near him, her eyes soft with sympathy, but every time she approached, Kyle would step in, her cold stare warning Jack to keep his distance. Naira simply watched from the corners, smiling like she knew something no one else did. At night, Jack lay awake in the chambers they had given him. The walls hummed with alien light. The silence pressed in. His heart ached for Lyra, but his mind replayed the judge's words. By galactic law, you must marry all sisters. He clenched his fists, whispering to himself, "Why me? Why this law?" The answer came sooner than he expected. Lyra visited him first, slipping into his chamber when the guards were gone. She placed a hand on his arm, her touch trembling. "Jack, you must listen. This law, it is not about love. It is about power." He frowned, his voice low. "Power? What do you mean?" Her eyes glistened. "Our family holds a bond with the council. The law was made to keep our bloodline tied to those who lead, by forcing you to marry us all. They make sure humanity is bound forever to alien rule." Jack's breath caught, his chest tightened. So it was never about him or the sisters. It was about turning him into a chain, binding all humans to the galaxy's throne. Before he could respond, the door slid open. Kyle entered, her eyes like steel. "Enough, Lyra. He does not need your weakness." She looked at Jack, her voice sharp. "Human, understand this. If you fight the law, you will bring ruin on your people. If you obey, you will be protected. Do not confuse fantasy with survival." Lyra stepped back, her voice breaking. "He deserves to know the truth." Kyle's gaze darkened. "Truth, or your fragile heart." The tension between them sparked like fire. Jack could almost feel the centuries of rivalry hidden beneath their words. And in that moment, he realized something. The sisters were not united. They were divided, each with her own desire, her own secret. And then Naira appeared, leaning casually against the doorframe, her smile sharp. "Why are you both wasting your breath? The human already knows the truth." Jack turned, startled. "What truth?" Naira stepped closer, her eyes gleaming with dangerous light. "That you are not their prisoner. You are their weapon." Her words cut deeper than the judge's command. He stared at her, struggling to make sense of it. "Weapon? What are you talking about?" Naira's laugh was soft, chilling. "Do you think it is coincidence, human, that you were brought here? Do you think the law appeared by chance? No, you were chosen because humans are unpredictable, dangerous, impossible to control, and with you bound to us, the galaxy fears what you might do, so they try to cage you in the name of marriage." Jack's stomach twisted, his pulse raced. He felt like the walls of the palace were closing around him. Every word they spoke tore away another layer of illusion. Fissu. Yes was bigger than love, bigger than him. It was a trap spun through centuries of law and politics. The sisters looked at him then, three pairs of eyes so different yet bound by the same fate. Lyra's filled with sorrow, Kyle's filled with duty, Naira's filled with fire. And Jack understood. He was caught in something he could not yet see. Naira leaned close, whispering in his ear before slipping back into the shadows. "Remember this, human. The law may bind us, but secrets break even the strongest chains." She was gone. Kyle stormed out with a final glare, leaving Lyra trembling beside him. Jack sat in silence, his hands shaking. His heart longed for Lyra, his mind feared Kale, and his soul burned with Naira's words. He was no longer just a man in love. He was a key, a chain, a weapon, and deep down he knew the galaxy had not seen the last of humanity's defiance, the weight of law. The morning light in the alien palace was cold and sharp. It streamed through the crystal windows and painted the floor in shifting colors. Jack stood there, staring at the council summons delivered to his door. His name was written in glowing alien script, a reminder that he was not free. Guards led him back into the great chamber. This time the seats were full. The entire Galactic Council had gathered, creatures with wings, with scales, with eyes that burned like fire, all of them watching one human. The High Judge rose, his voice booming like thunder. "Human, you stand as a test. If you obey the law, your people will be accepted. If you defy it, humanity will face exile from the stars." The words hit Jack like a storm. He felt his chest tighten. It was no longer about his heart or his love for Lyra. It was about Earth, about the millions of humans who had just begun to walk among the stars. One wrong choice and they would all be cast out. The sisters stood behind him, each with her own expression. Lyra's eyes begged him to stay quiet. Kale's stare warned him to obey. And Nira's faint smile, it dared him to rebel. The judge raised a hand. "You must speak now. Do you accept the bond of all sisters?" The hall grew silent. The silence felt alive, pressing against Jack's skin. His throat burned, his hands trembled. He thought of Lyra's laughter, of Kael's sharp words, of Nira's whisper in the night. Secrets break even the strongest chains. Jack's heart screamed for freedom, but his mind told him that freedom could cost humanity everything. His voice broke the silence. "Why must one choice decide the fate of my entire people?" The council stirred, murmurs spreading like fire. The judge's eyes narrowed. "Because you, human, are the first to stand in this hall. Your path is humanity's path. Do not mistake your heart for greater purpose." Jack wanted to shout, to fight, but Kyle's voice cut through the chamber. "He will obey. The law is eternal." The judge nodded. "Then let it be written. The human will marry all sisters." The words burned into the air, glowing symbols forming above Jack's head, chains of light wrapped around his wrists, binding him to the decree. The crowd erupted, some cheering, others whispering. Jack's knees almost buckled. His future was sealed by words not his own, but then Nira stepped forward, her voice sharp and dangerous. "Not so fast, Judge. The law may bind him, but it does not silence us." Lyra hesitated, her voice trembling. "Jack, we cannot trust her." Jack's heart raced. Every path was a risk. Lyra's love, Kyle's betrayal, Nira's dangerous help. But he had no choice. The guards were closing in. Nira turned and moved into a hidden passage behind the wall. The stone shifted like liquid, opening a narrow way. Jack grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her with him. They followed Nira through twisting tunnels, the air heavy with secrecy. Finally, they emerged into a hidden chamber beneath the palace. The walls glowed faintly with symbols Jack did not understand. Nira turned to him, her voice calm. "Tomorrow, you will face the trial. The council believes it will break you. Kyle has ensured the odds are against you. But if you want to survive, if you want to protect our people, you must fight not with their strength, but with your own." Jack clenched his fists. His mind was a storm. Betrayal cut deep, but so did resolve. He had seen humanity rise from nothing. He had seen humans fight with heart when all else failed. Nira stepped closer, her eyes burning. "Show them why humans cannot be caged." Lyra gripped Jack's hand, whispering through tears. "Please, Jack, don't let this destroy you." Above them, the palace lights dimmed. The council prepared for the trial, and Jack knew tomorrow would decide not just his fate, but the fate of all humanity, humanity's defiance. The morning of the trial came with skies painted in blood-red light. The palace bells rang like thunder, calling every council member, every citizen, and every curious traveler from across the stars to witness what was about to unfold. Jack stood in the center of the great arena, a circle of stone surrounded by walls that rose high into the clouds. The air was thick with energy, as if the galaxy itself held its breath. He could see the council watching from golden thrones, their faces hard and expectant. The three sisters stood nearby, veiled in silver, their emotions hidden. But Jack felt their eyes burning into him. The High Judge's voice thundered across the arena. "Today the human will prove himself. He has spoken of love, of freedom, of defiance. Let us see if those words can survive against the strength of the galaxy." A gate opened, and a creature stepped out. Its body was a mountain of muscle and armored skin, horns curling upward like bam. "Ladies!" Its roar shook the stones beneath Jack's feet. The crowd erupted in cheers. They expected a slaughter. Jack's breath came heavy. He had no weapons, no armor, only his hands, his wits, and the burning fire of his human spirit. He looked once at Lyra. Her veil shifted as she mouthed one word. Fight. The beast charged, its steps shaking the ground. Jack leapt aside, rolling across the dust. His heart hammered. The council laughed, mocking him. To them, he was nothing but a fragile outsider. But Jack remembered Earth. He remembered the stories of humans who fought against impossible odds, not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to surrender. He moved fast, dodging another strike, his mind racing. He could not match the beast's strength, but maybe he could outthink it. He picked up a shard of broken stone, sharp and jagged, and as the beast turned, Jack hurled it into its eye. The creature roared, stumbling in pain. Gasps filled the arena. The crowd leaned forward. This was not weakness. This was human defiance. Kael's cold eyes narrowed. She whispered something to the council beside her. Jack caught the movement and knew she had hoped he would fail instantly. But now the tide was shifting. The beast charged again, blinded with rage. Jack ducked under its strike and scrambled onto its back, his arms wrapped tight around its throat. His muscles screamed, but he held on, using every ounce of stubborn human endurance. Slowly, painfully, the beast staggered, choking, until it collapsed with a thunderous crash. The arena went silent. Jack stood on top of the fallen monster, blood on his face, sweat dripping, his chest rising and falling like fire. And then he lifted his voice, strong and unshaken. You wanted proof. You wanted to see what a human is. Here it is. We do not bow. We do not break. We fight and we endure. The silence broke into chaos. Some council members shouted in anger, others in awe. The people in the crowd cheered wildly. The high judge rose, his voice booming. This is not victory. This is defiance. Jack's eyes locked on him, his voice steady. Call it what you want. But the galaxy just saw the truth. Humanity is not a chain you can bind. Humanity is not a slave to your law. If you force me to marry by law, then I will not marry as your prisoner, but as my choice. I will protect them as family, not as property. Lyra's tears fell beneath her veil. Kael's jaw tightened with fury. Neera's smile widened with dangerous pride. The judge roared, Enough. Your words will bring ruin. But Jack stepped forward, standing tall. His voice thundered through the arena. Then let ruin come. I would rather face ruin than live without freedom. The crowd erupted again, divided, half chanting in rage, half in admiration. The sisters stood in silence, but in that moment Jack felt something shift in them. They were no longer just bound by law. They were tied to his defiance. The trial was over. But Jack knew the war for freedom had only just begun. Trial of the human. The arena had fallen into chaos. The beast lay dead at Jack's feet, its body still steaming, and the voices of the crowd roared like thunder. Some cried for his honor, others demanded his death. The high judge raised his hand, and silence rolled over the arena like a dark tide. The human has proven his defiance, the judge's voice thundered. But defiance is not strength. He will face the true trial, not against a beast, but against the law itself. A new gate opened. This time it was not a monster that stepped out. It was a warrior, armored in shining black steel. His body towered over Jack, his hands carrying twin blades that hummed with energy. His eyes glowed like fire. This was not a test, it was an execution dress. At his judgment, the sisters gasped. Lyra's hands clutched her veil. Kael's eyes widened, and for once even she looked afraid. Nyra's smile faded into something colder, sharper. Jack's chest tightened. He was exhausted, his muscles burned, but he stood tall. He clenched his fists, his breath steady. He would not bow, he would not let them break him. The warrior moved with terrifying speed, his blades cutting through the air like lightning. Jack barely dodged, the energy scorching the ground where he had stood a moment before. The crowd cheered for blood. Jack scrambled, rolling across the dust. He grabbed a fallen spear from the ground. It felt heavy, alien, but it was all he had. He raised it, his eyes burning with fire. If this is the law, then let the law bleed. The warrior struck. Sparks filled the air as spear met blade. The force knocked Jack to his knees. His arms screamed with pain, but he pushed back, forcing himself to stand. The crowd gasped. For every strike that should have killed him, Jack found a way to endure, to resist. But he was slowing. His body could not keep up. The warrior's blade sliced across his shoulder. Blood spilled. Jack staggered, his vision blurred. He heard Lyra's voice cry out, "Jack, please, don't give up." Nyra's voice followed, sharp and commanding. "Remember what I told you. You are their weapon, not their prisoner." Jack's heart roared. His vision cleared. He dropped the spear, shocking everyone. He moved with empty hands, his body low, his steps fast. The warrior struck again, but Jack slipped under the blade and drove his fist into the weak spot beneath the armor. The warrior grunted, stumbling. Gasps echoed. The crowd leaned forward. The human was fighting with nothing but flesh and will. Jack struck again, faster, harder. His body screamed in agony, but his spirit burned brighter. Every hit was not just his own. It was the strength of humanity carried in his fists. Finally, he caught the warrior's arm, twisting it with a crack. The blade fell. Jack snatched it up and pressed it against the warrior's throat. The arena froze. Jack's chest heaved, blood dripping down his arm. His voice thundered. "This is your trial. This is your law, and yet here I stand, bleeding, but unbroken. Tell me, counsel, is this weakness, or is this what it means to be human?" The silence was deafening. Even the judge hesitated. The sisters stepped forward. Lyra's tears flowed. Kael's lips trembled as if her certainty had cracked, and Nira's smile returned, sharp and proud. Jack lowered the blade. He would not kill. He dropped it at the warrior's feet, standing with nothing but his bare hands. Humanity does not win with power. We win with heart, and no law, no chain can take that from us. The crowd erupted, divided again. Some roared in fury, others cheered his name. The judge's voice shook with anger. "Enough. This defiance will not stand. The law must hold, or the galaxy will fall into chaos." But Jack stood tall, bloodied and broken, yet unbowed. The trial had not destroyed him. It had revealed him, and in that moment the galaxy saw the truth. The human was not just a man. He was a storm that no law could contain. The choice beyond law. The arena floor was stained with blood. Jack stood in the center, his chest rising and falling, his body broken, but his spirit unshaken. The warrior lay defeated at his feet, the crowd torn between rage and awe. The high judge rose, his voice trembling with fury. "The law is eternal. The human has insulted the council. He must be punished. He must be HFY, or his people will suffer exile from the galaxy." Jack raised his head. His eyes burned with fire. His voice echoed across the chamber. "If exile means freedom, then so be it. Humanity will never kneel to chains disguised as law." Gasps filled the hall. Aliens shouted, some demanding his execution, others calling him a symbol of truth. The galaxy itself seemed to tremble at his words. Then the sisters stepped forward, together. For the first time they stood side by side. Lyra's veil dropped, her eyes shining with tears. Kael's cold mask cracked, showing conflict, and Nyra's dangerous smile sharpened into something brighter. Lyra's voice broke the silence. "Judge, the law does not bind only him. It binds us too, and we refuse to be prisoners." Kael hesitated. Her fists clenched. She looked at Jack, at his bloodied form, at his unyielding eyes. For so long she had served the council. But in that moment she saw something greater. Her voice shook but grew firm. "The human has shown more strength than all of us. If the law demands his chains, then I reject the law." The crowd gasped, and Nyra stepped forward, her voice cutting like a blade. "This is the truth you tried to bury. The law was meant to control, but he has broken it. If he must marry us, then let it be by choice, our choice, not yours." The three sisters stood together, their voices united. "We choose him, not by law, but by will." The council erupted in chaos. The judge's face turned to stone, Impossible. The law cannot be broken. But the galaxy had already seen it. The chains of light that bound Jack flickered, cracked, and shattered into sparks. The power of the decree dissolved before the weight of free will. The law bent, broken for the first time in history. The judge staggered back, his voice shaking. This cannot be. Jack's voice thundered. It is. Today humanity proved what you feared. We are not here to be chained. We are here to rise. And if one human can break your law, imagine what all of humanity can do. The arena roared. Aliens who once mocked him now shouted his name. The sisters stood at his side, their choice blazing brighter than any law. The judge sank back into his throne, powerless. The council had no answer. For centuries the law had ruled, but in one day a human had turned it into ash. Jack turned to the sisters. His eyes softened as he looked at Lyra. She reached for his hand, her tears falling freely. Kael lowered her head in respect. Naira's smile glimmered with pride. Together they were no longer bound by chains, but united by choice. And as Jack looked out at the galaxy watching him, he spoke one last time, his voice steady, his words echoing like fire. Sometimes the galaxy forgets the simplest truth. Freedom is stronger than law, choice is stronger than chains, and humanity will always remind you. The crowd erupted, the sisters at his side, and the story of one human who defied the stars became legend. The end. Enjoyed the story? Like it and subscribe for more.